You wake up each morning as if the supply of mornings were endless. You check your phone, brush your teeth, make coffee, all on the silent assumption that tomorrow will arrive just like today. We live as if time were a warehouse with infinite shelves, but it isn't. The shelves are numbered, and most of us never bother to check how many are left. Here's the quiet shock. The average life is only 30,000 days long. That's it. No bonus round, no secret extension pack. If you're 30, you've already spent over 11,000 of those days. They are gone, evaporated like smoke, never to be retrieved. We talk about someday as if it were a bank account we can always withdraw from. But someday is a dangerous word. It tricks us into believing we have more credit with life than we actually do. Think of time like a candle. Whether you notice or not, the wax is melting, the flame is eating itself. You can hold the candle high, or you can forget about it in the corner. Either way, it burns. That is the strange cruelty of time. It doesn't need your permission to move forward. We spend it the way children spend coins in an arcade, tossing them one by one, not realizing the machine will eventually go silent. And yet, within this truth, there is a paradox. If time is slipping away so fast, why do some moments feel infinite? A kiss, a summer afternoon, a shared laugh, they expand, they linger. Maybe the real tragedy isn't that life is short. Maybe it's that we live it as if it were long. So the question is not, how much time do I have? The deeper question is, what am I doing with the time that already has me? Do you remember being a child in summer? The days felt like entire worlds, vast and endless. One morning held enough adventure to fill a book. But now, as an adult, whole years pass as if they were a single weekend. You blink and the calendar has leapt forward. This is not just nostalgia. It is how your mind actually works. The brain measures time not by clocks, but by novelty. Every new sight, every new experience, every new feeling carves a mark in memory. Childhood is drenched in firsts. The first day of school, the first friend, the first heartbreak. Every moment mattered, and so time unfolded slowly. But as adults, we fall into grooves, the same breakfast, the same commute, the same shows. And when days look alike, memory stops recording them. It is as if life itself gets skipped over. Think of it like a photo album. Childhood albums are thick, every page bursting with colors and stories. Adulthood albums, often half empty, filled with copies of the same gray photo, repeated again and again. That is why time seems to shrink, not because it moves faster, but because we stop noticing. Here lies the quiet danger. We mistake the blur for speed. We believe time itself is rushing when really it is we who are asleep at the wheel. And yet the paradox is simple. You can stretch time again. You don't need more days, you need more alive days. Each new experience, a different path to work, a new book, a conversation with a stranger forces the mind to wake up, to record, to expand. Novelty is not a luxury. It is the doorway through which time grows wide again. And here's the cruel trick of perception. We overestimate what we can do in a single day, but underestimate what we can create in a single year. That is why most people quit too soon. They plant a seed, glance at it the next morning, and decide it has failed. But time works like a garden. Nothing grows in one day, but look again after a year, and the entire landscape has changed. So the question is this: are your days blending into one another like photocopies, or are you living in such a way that each day becomes its own story worth remembering? Most of us live as if the point of life is to stay busy. We fill our calendars, answer emails, run errands, and check off boxes, all the while believing we are moving forward. But being busy is not the same as being alive. It is possible to die with a to-do list that was never finished. Busyness is like a hamster wheel disguised as progress. You run faster and faster, but when you look around, you're still in the same cage. The tragedy is not that we work hard, it's that much of what we work on doesn't matter. We polish small pebbles while ignoring the diamonds buried beneath them. Here's a perspective shift. Imagine yourself at 90 years old, looking back on this very week. Would you care about the extra hour you spent at the office? Or would you care about the evening you skipped with your family, the conversation you postponed, the sunset you ignored? The deathbed test strips away the illusion. What feels urgent today often looks trivial in the rearview mirror of a life nearly over. The paradox is this: success often has less to do with what you do and more to do with what you refuse to do. Knowing what to subtract becomes more powerful than knowing what to add. Think of it like sculpting. A block of marble becomes a statue not by piling on more stone, but by chiseling away everything that does not belong. Life works the same way, yet distractions sneak in, wearing the costume of importance. Social media, endless notifications, busy work, they steal your focus, slice your attention into fragments, and leave you wondering why the day vanished. It is not that we lack time, it is that we hand it away in pieces so small we don't notice until nothing is left. The deeper truth is that your time is not stolen, it is traded. Every moment spent on what doesn't matter is a moment you can never spend on what does. The deal is always made in silence. And one day, the bill comes due. So ask yourself, if you cut away everything unimportant, if you circled only the 3 things that truly matter, what would remain of your life? And are you willing to let the rest of it fall away? If time is the most precious thing we have, then relationships are how we spend it. Every interaction is like a tiny exchange, a deposit or a withdrawal from the invisible bank account between 2 people. A kind word, a laugh shared, a hand on the shoulder deposit, a broken promise, a careless remark, a forgotten birthday withdrawal, and just like with money, you cannot withdraw more than you have invested. Here's the strange thing. Most people think love and friendship are built on grand gestures, the anniversary trip, the expensive gift, the perfect vacation. But relationships don't grow through fireworks. They grow through small sparks, the text that says, "I'm thinking of you," the memory of someone's favorite song, the willingness to show up when it's inconvenient. What we think of as small is actually the substance of connection. And here's the paradox. Shared suffering binds more deeply than shared pleasure. A friend who stands beside you in grief becomes family in a way that someone who only shares your parties never can. It is in the breaking that bonds fuse strongest. Pleasure is easy. Pain is where loyalty proves itself. Think of your connections as a garden. You cannot plant all the seeds one day and expect it to bloom forever. A garden demands tending, water, sun, care. Neglect it for too long, and it withers. The same is true with people. If you only reach out when you need something, you will find the soil has turned dry. But here's the paradox hidden in generosity. When you give your time to others, you discover you have more of it. Serving, listening, caring, these acts expand your sense of time instead of shrinking it. Hours spent helping don't feel lost, they feel multiplied. The clock ticks slower when you are truly present with another person. So the question becomes, what kind of deposits are you making into the lives around you? Are you planting a garden that will feed love for years, or are you slowly drawing from an account that will one day run empty? We are taught to imagine careers as ladders, one rung after another, always climbing upward, always reaching for the next step. But ladders are narrow, fragile things. They only allow you to move in one direction. And here's the paradox. Many people climb so well that they reach the top only to discover their ladder was leaning against the wrong wall. The truth is, modern life is not a ladder. It is more like a jungle gym, messy, unpredictable, full of sideways and diagonal moves. Some steps take you higher, others take you sideways, and some even take you down for a while. But unlike a ladder, the jungle gym lets you explore. It allows you to collect skills, perspectives, and experiences that make you irreplaceable in ways a single upward climb never could. Comfort is the quiet enemy of this journey. A job that feels safe soon becomes like quicksand. The longer you stay, the harder it is to leave. Many of us whisper to ourselves, "This job is fine. Why risk it?" But fine is the death of growth. A comfort zone is not a sanctuary. It is a cage with cushions. And here's another paradox. In your early years, the smartest thing you can optimize for is not money, but learning. Every new skill is like a lottery ticket. Most will pay nothing, but some will unlock entire futures. Money follows knowledge. But if you chase money too soon, you trade the long game for a short prize. Think of it this way. Procrastination, which we so often condemn, can actually be a compass. Sometimes, the very things you do to avoid your real work reveal your deeper interests. That side project, that hobby, that guilty distraction, it may hold the seed of your real calling. So the question is this: what if your career is not a climb to a single peak, but a dance across many paths? And if that's true, what walls are you leaning your ladder against right now, and are they the ones you truly wish to climb? When people think about extending life, they often imagine adding years at the end, stretching out old age with medicine and effort. But health is not about tacking on a few more gray years. Health is about multiplying the life in the years you already have. Think of it like this. Would you rather have 12 sluggish, drained hours or 8 energized, vibrant ones? It's not the clock that matters. It's the quality of the energy you bring to it. Without vitality, even abundance of time feels empty. With vitality, even short moments glow with fullness. And here's the strange paradox. The things we often sacrifice for success, sleep, movement, nutrition, are the very engines that make success possible. People boast, "I'll sleep when I'm dead." But lack of sleep is what speeds death toward you. The brain without sleep is like a drunk driver, clumsy, irrational, blind to consequences. The relationships you want, the promotions you chase, the clarity you long for, all of them depend on a well-rested mind. Your body is not a machine designed for stillness. It is a river meant to flow. Hours of sitting are like damming a current, causing it to stagnate. But a short walk, a few stretches, even 10 push-ups, these are like clearing the riverbed. Movement sharpens thought. When the body shifts, the mind loosens and answers appear where before there was only fog. Here's another truth. You are not one person, but two. Morning you and evening you. Morning you makes the plans. Evening you lives with them. If morning you is too ambitious, evening you will collapse under the weight of the schedule. Health is not just about discipline. It is about designing a rhythm that both selves can sustain. So ask yourself, are you treating health as a chore, something to fit in after real life? Or are you seeing it for what it truly is, the very multiplier that makes real life possible? Most of us think learning ends when school does. We graduate, we take a job, and then we let the mind settle into routine. But a mind that stops learning is like a pond with no inlet. It grows stagnant, murky, lifeless. Growth is not optional. It is the very breath of the Spirit. Here's a curious paradox. People often say, "I'm not ready to teach. I don't know enough." But teaching is one of the fastest ways to learn. Struggle makes you a better guide than perfection ever could. The expert has forgotten what confusion feels like. The struggler remembers and can translate wisdom into the language of the lost. Think of each new skill as a lottery ticket. You may not know which one will pay off, but each one expands your possibility. The guitar lesson, the coding project, the awkward attempt at painting, they all add tickets to the pile. One day, the unlikely combination of skills you've gathered becomes the very thing that sets you apart. Constraints, too, are misunderstood. People believe that limited time, limited money, or limited resources are barriers. But constraints are the mother of creativity. They force the mind to twist, to adapt, to imagine. A painter given only 3 colors will discover shades others cannot see. A life with boundaries becomes more inventive than a life with none. And here is a hard truth. Quitting is not failure. Quitting is space making. The sooner you release what does not feed your growth, the sooner you open your hands to something that will. Strategic quitting is the discipline of gardeners cutting away the dead branches so the tree may thrive. So the question is, what would your life look like if you chose to stay a deliberate amateur at some things, to keep your mind playful, curious, flexible? And what things are you still clutching that, if released, would make room for something greater to grow? We are taught to prize intelligence, to chase IQ scores, degrees, and cleverness. But life rarely falls apart because someone wasn't smart enough. More often, it unravels because someone couldn't manage their emotions. A storm inside spilled over into the world outside. Here's a hidden truth. Every emotion in the body has a timer. Anger, fear, frustration, the chemicals that create them last only about 90 seconds. After that, what remains is not biology but choice. We say, "I can't help how I feel." But the first wave is chemistry. The second wave is habit. Most of us are not drowning in emotions. We are clinging to them long after the tide has gone out. Think of emotions like waves on a beach. They crash, they rise, they foam, and then they fade. The ocean does not hold a wave forever, but the mind can. We replay the insult, reheat the anger, refuel the fear, until what was once a passing wave becomes a permanent storm. And here's the paradox. Raw intelligence may land you the job, but emotional steadiness earns you trust. People do not remember whether you were the smartest in the room. They remember whether you stayed calm when chaos broke loose. Power lies not in controlling the storm, but in learning how to stand within it without being swept away. Vulnerability, too, is often misunderstood. We think showing weakness will break trust, but the opposite is true. A carefully chosen moment of honesty, admitting doubt, sharing fear, revealing imperfection, creates a bridge no display of perfection ever could. We bond not over each other's strengths, but over the cracks in the armor. So ask yourself, what storm are you still standing in long after the clouds have passed? And what might happen if you finally let the wave roll back into the sea? We grow up believing money is the measure of success. More income, more possessions, more comfort. But money is never just money, it is a trade. Every dollar you earn is bought with the hours of your life, and those hours cannot be earned back. Here is the hidden paradox. As income rises, freedom often falls. The bigger the house, the more maintenance. The nicer the car, the more worry. The better the neighborhood, the longer the commute. What we imagine as wealth often becomes a treadmill running faster but going nowhere. Lifestyle inflation is not progress, It is quicksand disguised as reward. True wealth is not measured in possessions, but in time. Ask yourself this. Would you rather make $100,000 a year working 80 hours a week or $70,000 working 30? One path fills your bank but empties your life. The other fills your life while still sustaining your needs. Time affluence is the only wealth that appreciates because it buys you back the one thing you cannot replace. Think of money as a tool for exchange, not a shrine for worship. Smart people don't just buy things, they buy time. They rent objects but invest in experiences. Why? Because objects decay. They gather dust, they break, they lose their shine. But experiences appreciate in memory. A trip with a friend, an evening of laughter, a moment of awe, these grow richer with every recall. So the real financial skill is not accumulation, but margin. Living below your means is not deprivation, it is the creation of space. Space to choose differently, to take risks, to rest, to breathe. Without margin, money owns you. With margin, money serves you. And so the question, are you spending your life buying objects that will fade? Or are you using your wealth to buy back the only treasure that truly matters, your time? Most people believe creativity is about waiting for inspiration, that elusive lightning bolt from the sky. So they wait and wait. But inspiration is not a visitor that knocks politely at your door. It is more like water in a rusty pipe. When you first turn the faucet, the water runs brown, full of noise and grit. Those are your bad ideas. And yet, without letting that water run, the clear stream never comes. Here's the paradox. The path to brilliance runs straight through mediocrity. You cannot leap over the bad ideas. You must pour them out to make way for the good ones. Perfectionism tries to silence this process. It demands you create and judge at the same time. But that's like trying to drive with one foot on the gas and one on the brake. Movement requires release. Judgment can come later. And notice this, creativity does not thrive in unlimited space. Give someone endless choices and they freeze. Give them limits and they bloom. Shakespeare wrote his plays inside strict rules of rhythm and rhyme, and those very boundaries forced the music of his words. A blank page with no rules is terrifying. A page with rules is a playground. Your brain is not just a generator of ideas, it is a muscle. It grows by seeing its own work, even the flawed work. Document everything, keep the sketches, the drafts, the attempts that embarrass you. They are not proof of failure. They are proof of progress. A weak muscle grows not from imagining strength, but from lifting weight badly until it can lift well. So the real secret of creative living is not to find some perfect idea, but to combine the strange and scattered pieces only you hold. A little of this, a little of that, stitched together in ways no one else would think to stitch. That intersection, awkward, messy, surprising, becomes your genius. And the question lingers. What rusty water are you refusing to let run? And what brilliance might flow if you simply turned the faucet all the way on? We often talk about managing time as if the clock were the master of life. But the truth is, time is useless without energy. You can have 12 free hours, but if you are drained, distracted, or exhausted, those hours are empty shells. On the other hand, a single energized hour can be worth more than an entire tired day. Here's the paradox. People believe discipline and willpower are enough to carry them. But willpower is like a muscle. It weakens with use. You don't fail because you are weak. You fail because you've already spent your strength on decisions that didn't matter. Choosing what to wear, what to eat, how to structure your day, each choice drains the battery. That is why many highly effective people simplify the trivial. They wear the same clothes, eat the same breakfast, automate the unimportant. They save their energy for what counts. And here's another strange truth. Sometimes the smartest move is strategic incompetence. Be deliberately bad at what doesn't matter, and people will stop asking you to do it. This frees your energy to pour into what you do best. By refusing to waste yourself, you protect your essence. Think of energy like a bank account. Some activities make deposits: a morning walk, a good conversation, a moment of silence. Others are energy vampires: gossip, toxic relationships, endless doom scrolling. The balance of your life depends not just on how much time you have, but on how wisely you spend your energy. And recovery is not wasted time. It is the multiplication of time. Rest, play, sleep, these are not delays in living. They are what allow life to deepen. A field that is never left fallow grows barren. A body that never rests collapses. A soul that never pauses forgets what it island. So ask yourself, where are you leaking your energy? And what might happen if you finally seal those cracks? We are told that success is about what we know: degrees, skills, intelligence. But in truth, much of life turns not on what you know, but on who you know and how deeply you are connected. And here's the paradox. Real connection is not built on networking events or stacks of business cards. It grows quietly in ordinary moments, like moss spreading on stone. Friendship has a simple formula: time, vulnerability, and shared experience. Remove any one of these, and the bond weakens. Without time, you have no history. Without vulnerability, you have only performance. Without shared experience, you have strangers standing side by side. Think of community as a garden. You cannot scatter seeds once and expect an orchard. Relationships need watering: the text that checks in, the coffee shared in a busy week, the willingness to show up without agenda. These small acts are the real fertilizer of trust. And yet, here is the strange mistake we all make. We wait until we need connection to build it. But by then, it is too late. The roots of community must already be there before the storm comes. You don't plant a tree in the middle of a hurricane. You plant it years before and trust that its branches will hold. Even weak ties, the casual acquaintances, the neighbor you wave to, the co-worker you barely know, are bridges to whole new worlds. Strong ties comfort you, but weak ties expand you. Growth often arrives not from those closest to you, but from those who sit just outside your circle. So ask yourself, are you treating relationships as tools for when you need them, or as gardens to be tended every day? And whose garden are you watering even now in the small, unnoticed ways? We move through life guided by invisible maps in our heads, shortcuts, assumptions, rules of thumb. We call them mental models, and they are useful. But here's the paradox. The map is never the territory. No matter how accurate your model seems, it will always be smaller, simpler, and less alive than the reality it represents. To confuse the two is to wander blind while believing, you see. Most people live as if their map is complete. They see what seems obvious and they trust it. But life is not checkers, it is chess. Every move has consequences that ripple outward, not just what happens next, but what happens after what happens next. The obvious choice is often the trap, because the obvious is obvious to everyone. To see differently, you must ask, what am I not seeing? What piece of the territory does my map leave blank? Knowledge is not power. Understanding is power. Knowing that a tomato is a fruit is knowledge. Knowing not to put it in a fruit salad is understanding. Collecting facts can fill your shelves, but collecting patterns changes the way you live. And here's the deeper paradox. Life design is not about perfect planning. Plans are guesses, written on paper. Reality will shred them. Life is designed not by predicting, but by experimenting. Tiny shifts, small tests, repeated often, these shape a life far more than grand strategies. You don't think your way into the right life, you live your way into it. Think of your life as a portfolio, not of money, but of moments, skills, relationships, and dreams. A portfolio is built not all at once, but piece by piece, with careful adjustments along the way. The question is not how do I win, but what am I measuring? If your metrics are borrowed from society, money, status, possessions, your life will be theirs, not yours. But if you design your own measures, joy, presence, love, growth, you may discover you've been wealthy all along. So ask yourself, what assumptions guide your map, and what if they're wrong? What experiments could you run today, not to plan the perfect life, but to discover the one that is already waiting for you? Life is not as long as we imagine. 30,000 days, that is the average allotment. Enough to build a world, but not enough to waste as if it were infinite. The question has never been, how do I add more hours? The real question is, how do I make the hours I have truly mine? Every chapter of this journey whispers the same truth. Time is not a number on a clock. It is the texture of your living. When you fill your days with novelty, time stretches. When you fill them with routine, time collapses. When you spend them on what matters, life expands. When you trade them for distractions, life shrinks. Your relationships are the true currency of existence, more valuable than any paycheck. Your health is the multiplier that makes hours glow or fade. Your career is not a ladder, but a dance. Your creativity is not a gift from above, but a faucet you must turn. Your energy is the bank account behind every decision. Your wealth is not your possessions, but the margin you carve to choose differently. And here lies the great paradox. You cannot keep time, but you can deepen it. A single day fully lived can outweigh a decade half asleep. Life is not about adding years to the end. It is about adding life to the years you have now. So here is the invitation. Stop waiting for someday. Someday is the thief of today. Stop trying to reach the horizon. It will never come closer. Instead, look down at the ground beneath your feet, at the air in your lungs, at the people beside you. Your habits become your days become your years become your life. And life is not waiting, it is happening now in this very breath. So the final question remains, if not now, when? If not this life, what other life are you waiting for?